the career opportunities here at NIFA. And like you just saw the message, we are going to record this presentation because we know some people are unable to join. So we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to store that on our website so you can review it later, and those who were unable to attend can view the content as well. I'm Drenda Williams. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself, but I'm Drenda Williams. I'm the Director of Equal Opportunity and Civil Rights here at NIFA. And so we have a variety of presenters for today's presentation. So first, we're going to have Dr. Irma Lawrence give a welcome and go over the agenda. She's the National Program Leader.
Greetings. My name is Irma Lawrence, and I am a National Program Leader at the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, NIFA, at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to the Career Opportunities at NIFA webinar. During this webinar, the agency leadership, the Office of Civil Rights, and staff from across the agency will come together to reach out to you and provide you with some information and guidance on how to apply to the different jobs at the agency. We are seeking a diverse group of applicants to bring their talents to the federal government and to help advance NIFA's mission of funding innovative agricultural research, education, and extension programs. We will be filling multiple vacancies seeking a wide variety of educational backgrounds, skill sets, and life experiences. We hope you find this webinar helpful and that it provides you with some direction and encourages you to apply for positions that fit your background and career goals. Next slide. Today's agenda will include 5 sections, and we will conclude the webinar with time for questions and answers. The first section will be an introduction to USDA and NIFA. In the second section, we will discuss NIFA's hiring process. From there, we will have different staff give an overview of some NIFA positions, such as Division Director, National Program Leader, Program Specialist, Policy Analyst, Grants Management Specialist, Staff Accountant. The fourth section is dedicated to discuss how to apply. Using USAJOBS, we talk about the application process and helpful tips and hints. The fifth section will be dedicated to discuss current job announcements and special hiring authorities. We'll then move to questions and answers. Thank you for joining us, and I'll leave you now with the Director of the Office of Civil Rights, Drenda Williams.
Next slide. Okay. And here we have a list of, like I said, we have a variety of staff members here at NIFA that's going to present today. And so these are everyone that's listed that's going to give a presentation, and they're definitely an excellent resource in regards to the various positions at NIFA here. So next, we're going to have Dr. Bill Hoffman, who's the Chief of Staff. He's going to talk about the agency and the mission. And then we'll also have Katina Hansen, Senior Operations and Policy Officer, give some brief remarks.
Thank you, Drenda. I'm Bill Hoffman. I'm Chief of Staff. I've been with the agency. It'll be 20 years in January. And the United States Department of Agriculture is a great place to work. Great place to work, and it's led by a great Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary Bill Sack. And whenever Secretary Bill Sack talks about the department, he always gushes about all the different things that we do. The largest part of USDA numerically is the United States Forest Service. And so when you go by United States Forest, or hear the commercials on the radio, the forest is calling, that's or see Smokey Bear. That's the United States Department of Agriculture. That's our organization. That's the largest part. We're about 100,000 people total in the department, and the Forest Service is probably 30, 40,000 people. So that's the largest single agency, people-wise. Budget-wise, is the folks that run the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, the Food and Nutrition Service. They got a huge budget and have a really huge reach. What we do in our little corner that's blocked off right there by the that's blocked off in red is the Research, Education, and Extension Mission and Economics Mission Area. And that's 4 agencies. That's the Ag Research Service, the department's in-house research folks, the Economic Research Service, all of our in-house ag economists, the National Ag Statistics Service, the people who make sure that we know how many cows and plows and farmers and apples and everything else that there are in the United States, and then us. And we're the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. Next slide, please. And our mission is we're the primary extramural agency to advance food and agricultural sciences. And you see that we have these 3 submissions here. It's almost like a 3-legged stool or 3 gears that kind of power each other. Research. We provide answers to complex societal issues through discovery. Education. We support schools and universities in training the agricultural workforce at all the levels. From the guy out there who needs a couple of classes at a community college, all the way up to PhDs. And we also do cooperative extension, provide knowledge gain through research, through to the agricultural workforce, theory to practice, and we also have a large youth component with cooperative extension, which is 4-H. Some of you might have heard of 4-H. And although we're the, you see on the left those gears, research, education, extension, we don't do any research. We don't educate anybody, not at least formally. We don't do any extension work. We provide funding for those who do, primarily at colleges of agriculture across the nation. Next slide, please. This is our organizational chart. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, except to say that we're about a 350 person agency, and we have a kind of a program side of the house, but we also have an operations and business side of the house that some of you might be interested in learning about. Next slide, please. So what our program side of the house, covers, so much ground. When we talk about agriculture, we're not just talking about cows and plows and things like that. We're talking about business and economics. We're talking about natural resources like global warming. We're talking about healthy rural and urban communities. We're talking about air and forests and grassland. And as diverse as the Department of Agriculture was, as I spoke of not too long ago, we also do things like nutrition education and nutrition research and outreach to folks in the aftermath of disasters. And in addition to all this programmatic work, we also need a bunch of business and communications and non-ag people to keep the organization running and functioning. So go ahead to the next slide. And I think that these are our science institutes. Institute for Bioenergy, Climate, and the Environment, the Institute for Food Production and Sustainability. That's where our most of our ag work is. Food Safety, Nutrition, and Youth, Family, and Community. And we also have a Center for International Programs. Next slide, please. I'm already over my time, so I'm going to hand it over to Katina Hansen. Katina?
All right. Thanks, Bill. And we have a great slate of folks to talk to you today, so I won't take too much time. I just wanted to share with you that we're really excited to bring on a diverse group of employees into NIFA to build the new NIFA for the future. We really want to encourage you to listen today and think about, you know, what is your strategy if you want to come into federal government? How do you, get your resume prepared? How do you read all these announcements and figure out what your path is? I assume many of you have very different backgrounds. We have positions that will span the spectrum, and you're going to hear about those today. So think about it. I know that, I came into federal government after working in the private sector, working in nonprofits, and then also state government. And I've been with USDA for about 17 years and have done many, many different positions. So the cool thing about government is that you get to explore different parts of, what your strengths are, and you get lots of different opportunities to expand your mind and to help people. So, most of us are bound by public service, and that is really important to us. And so, you get to know that all those different items that Bill listed off, that you're helping contribute to that. So we're excited for you to be here, and we want to help you to understand, that the way that you get into federal government, because it can seem a little bit foreboding. I know, there's a lot of different ways though. And so listen and learn and let us know if you have questions. Thank you.
Okay, so before we start going into the different types of NIFA positions, if you do have any questions, you can definitely put that in the Q&A box. And we should have some times if you want to ask your question verbally at the end to answer questions as well. I do see that we have a question regarding direct hire and regular hiring process, and we will talk about that later on in the presentation. Next slide. So what types of positions are available at NIFA? Here's just a list of some of the positions at NIFA. So you have definitely the science positions. So you'll see the biological science and social science specialists. We also have grants management specialists. We have a budget office. So there's some financial administration as well as accountants, as well as our equal opportunity staff and administrative functions as well, and secretaries. So we just have a lot of positions that are available here at NIFA. So if you think that there's only specific science positions that are available, you can see from this slide, there's definitely a variety of positions available. So next we'll talk about various positions within NIFA. So we'll have Dr. Tim Connor, who's the acting deputy director, speak. Dr. Carlos Ortiz, who's the national program leader. We'll also have Rikia Salter, who's a program specialist. Laura Givens, who's the lead policy analyst, Freddie Love, who's a grants management specialist, and Tara Warner, who's the chief of the accounting operations branch. And so they're going to just talk about the positions and give their personal perspectives. Dr. Connor.
Sure. Thank you, Drenda. Well, good afternoon, everyone. As Drenda said, my name is Tim Connor. I started NIFA about 5 years ago, and my day job actually is division director, although I haven't performed it so much of late because I've been doing acting deputy director's activities. So yeah, I have the privilege of telling you a little bit about division directors at NIFA as the one I want to highlight. And what I'll start off with is just to sort of give you a little bit of an analogy. Being a division director at NIFA is somewhat similar to being a conductor of an orchestra. Success depends upon harmony. And I translate that to a division director's success really sort of being one that creates synergy. So there are some key roles that the division director has at NIFA, and there really are three in my mind. One is it has administrative management function. And in this case, it really is about sort of fiduciary responsibilities, which really are legally obligated requirements for budget, for making sure that certain policies are upheld. And both of those are working very closely with our budget and policy offices, right? So we are a team here at NIFA. But then getting down to being able to sort of look and having to prioritize resources and do long-term planning as well as short-term planning needs. The second area is really that key area of where we really want to maximize the value of our assets, right? And people are our greatest assets, no doubt about it. And so that puts the best pieces of being an individual contributor with a team and being a team contributor. And so a lot of that gets around to the division director really sort of being the catalyst to ensure that we facilitate the right networks and initiate the right activities, not only within a division of staff, which could include national program leaders, program specialists, program assistants, and others, but also across different divisions. And so that's also a key linchpin for the division director. And then, to facilitate all types of developmental opportunities for the staff, as well as evaluating staff performance. So again, managing that asset, the most valuable asset of people, is another key role for the division director. And the third one is more in that science arena. The division director, they're either going to be biological science specialists or social science specialists in terms of the roles we're talking about today. And they have the role of really sort of being more portfolio managers, whereas some of the other positions you hear about today on the science side are more program managers and program contributors. And so from a portfolio perspective, the division director takes a little bit higher look at it and works very closely with the program specialists and the NPLs in their divisions and others to make sure that we coordinate and integrate activities to be efficient and effective. And we also drive the strategy in terms of aligning it with what the administration and what the mission priorities are. And then of course, one key thing that I put on the side and here as well is anticipates and listens. That's a key skill needed for a division director, and then the ability to recognize emerging areas. Next slide, please. And so with that, I thought I would just quickly sort of define, sort of what might be useful to you to get another view of what a division director's role is. It's really about what makes a division director successful. And really the first thing is really about you're successful when 1 + 1 = 3. And you do that through supervision and leadership. And really there, it is about recruiting. It's about making sure that you're aligned with strategic goals and your divisions align with those goals. It's really about using performance management tools to enhance and get the best out of every individual person on the team. And then beyond that, using individual development opportunities to really enhance performance and also to enhance growth of the individual, but also opportunities for the federal the federal employee across government. And finally, all of this ties together to really sort of create one key deliverable, and that's to deliver upon the mission, to make sure that our ag and rural customers and stakeholders are in fact, reached, and that we do our jobs by, really sort of making those contributions. So with that, I'll turn it over.
Sure, thanks, Tim. My name is Carlos Ortiz. I'm a national program leader. I used to be a program specialist until a couple of years ago. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what the role of a national program leader is at NIFA. And really, our role mainly is to translate the priorities set by Congress, the administration, and the agency into programs. As Tim mentioned, division directors are more like the directors of the orchestra, and still in the theme, I would say that a national program leader will be more like a lead of a section within that orchestra, where we have specific portfolios that we use to gear or move a certain part of science. So part of what we do is we lead and manage specific portfolios of programs, and we're the point of contact for previous grantees and also for future applicants. We do a lot of outreach to try to move the science forward. We are also tasked with recognizing emerging areas that support the disciplines that is part of our portfolio. as well as provide our expertise to many other topics within the agency and across USDA. We chair the peer review process as well as the funding recommendation process. As I mentioned, we're also point of contact of what we call formula funds. So we manage projects that could be multi-state or multi-regional that take place across the nation and are funded via our formula or capacity funds. We are currently also tasked with being liaisons to specific states and all the applicants and institutions within those states to really make sure that the agency have a depth in the outreach that we do about our programs. And of course, we provide outreach to stakeholders, future applicants, and really try to move forward the science of our specific discipline of expertise. In my case, I manage the K-14 education portfolio. So when it comes to education programs in the K-14 sphere, I'm usually the point of contact within the agency, along with my division director and others within my team. Next slide, please. Some of the things that I think are very important to be a successful national program leader at NIFA is to really transition from doing the science to be someone who supports and advances the science that we do. This is not really about us, it's about the science in general. In my case, being K-14 education, it's about the students, it's about the future of the workforce that we support at NIFA. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the main tasks that we have is emerging topics within the field, identifying needs that are there, and be able to make those linkages between the need and what the administration, the agency, or Congress priorities are. We oftentimes really collaborate to make these advancements. It's not just, we don't really work in silos, as agriculture is never in silos. There's always a mix of soil, water, everything that you can think of that makes something happen, right? So we work very much in teams. So as a national program leader, you have to be able to work in teams. You have to be able to provide your expertise to move that science forward. And also something that we keep very much in mind is that we need to support the equity and inclusion in our outreach and our peer review process, because having different voices really enrich the conversations that we have and really allow us to find the best science, the most diverse science, and the different points of view that really will move the science and the mission of the agency forward.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name's Rakia Salter, and I'm a program specialist in the Animal Systems Division. I'm actually a newer hire. I've been working for NIFA for about 6 months now. So for the program specialist role, it mainly focuses and centers around the proposal peer review cycle. So from receiving applications to actually having the panel review and keeping track of the award data and even past award data. All that is kind of the center of our role here. We help facilitate that process. And as Carlos said, for the NPL, they kind of manage the program portfolio, and we are there to be the administration and facilitator to those programs. Next slide, please. So with these expectations that I have in blue, I would say that all of them are needed to be a program specialist, but I do have them kind of tacked on to key tasks that we do as a program specialist. So like I said, proposal intake, you're keeping track of those proposals, doing the initial administrative review. So that's where you'd have your management and planning, as you'll usually have more than one program at a time. So keeping track of those files and data and keeping that all organized. Then during the pre-panel and panel process, that's where you'll use a lot of leadership and management skills and teamwork skills. As you've heard repeatedly, NIFA is a team. So in your program, you'll have your program team where you have to keep everyone up to date on the tasks and disseminate information to everyone involved, and keep in contact with your national program leader and also other program staff that may need to know things so you can keep the program on their schedule. Then during post-panel and also post-award, that's where you're going to keep track of, again, all that post-award data and required documents that are needed for awardees. And then also in the post-award, that's where you'll have program directors that may contact you with questions, or they might need assistance with different NIFA applications. So that's where you use a lot of your customer service or technical support skills. And so then even if you don't know the answer to something, that's where you can use your teamwork and networking skills to try to find the answer within NIFA to help the stakeholders with their problems. And then lastly, for RFA development, you'll be able to work again with your program team using those award data and past years data to see if there's any holes in your current program or areas you need to expand on, where you'll get stakeholder input there as well, to where you can help either edit an RFA to help address a gap, or you'll also be able to help potentially create new programs depending on, again, stakeholder input. So that is all that I have, and I'll pass it on to the next person.
Hi. So, hi, my name is Laura, and I'm going to ask you to switch gears. So we're going to move now to the operations side. I work in the policy and oversight division, which is in our Office of Grants and Financial Management. So hopefully you are starting to get a sense of the awesome mission and how the folks before me talked about supporting that mission, which is science, and it's amazing. And I love the work that NIFA supports, and it is a huge part of what attracted me to NIFA and why I'm very proud to work here. However, so I'm not a scientist. I have a legal background. I'm a lawyer. I'm not going to be great at the policy side. I mean, at the program side, but that's okay because like Bill said, NIFA provides funding opportunities. And so the funding side is where the policy and oversight division, that's where we come in because Congress appropriates money. They say, we want to give money to do this great research. And there's a lot of questions built into that, like, well, but who exactly would get the money and for how long and how much money and what kind of projects would be eligible? And these are all actually really important questions. And that is where my division comes in. So we work to provide clear answers and to make sure that NIFA as a program, we're following the rules and we're making sure that the money is distributed fairly. We're making sure that the limits or the boundaries of our funding opportunities are clear to applicants so they can determine, am I eligible to apply for this funding? And then we also work with our grantees to make sure that the rules that they have to follow are clear because, you know, sometimes conditions or specific things come with money. You have to spend it in the right way at the right time. And so we work with folks to make sure that all happens appropriately. And so that brings me to the second thing that I love about working at NIFA, which is it's actually pretty complicated. When you get down to the nuts and bolts, there are lots of different laws, regulations, like all this different guidance, and laws change and they get updated. And we're working on a wide variety of programs and different funding opportunities. And there's just a lot of details and moving parts. And I don't say that to sound scary. I say to point it out, like, it's really, really fun for people like me and with my team, because we get an opportunity every day to support folks in a way that is also challenging and interesting. It's not just like churning out rote answers, right? We're really thinking about all the rules that come into play, all the different nuances, all the real world situations, like how have our grantees been impacted by COVID, for example. We take that into account when we decide like how to make the rules work for everyone. So this is great for folks if you really enjoy critical thinking, research, analysis, creative problem solving. All of us get to do that. And it's great because I don't have a science background and I can't professionally do science. I wouldn't be a great choice for one of those positions, but I do get to use my brain every single day. And it's hard and it's challenging. And it's really, really satisfying because, like I say, that the mission that this all supports is just very cool. And then another bonus is you get to work with a really diverse group of professionals, like scientists and non-scientists alike. We are all working towards a common goal. And like Rakia, I'm relatively new. I've only been here since December, but I can honestly say I felt very supported across the board since I onboarded, and I love working with my colleagues. And so with that, I will actually pass the torch to one of my many delightful colleagues, Freddie. Thanks.
Thank you, Laura. Yes, my name is Freddie Love. I'm a grants management specialist here with NIFA. And she is correct. This is an outstanding place to work. Teamwork being key. It's across the board collaboration to support our recipients. In my case specifically, I deal with HBCUs, majority of them, all of them. And that is such a rewarding thing. But our biggest deal is, of course, as you can see on the screen, we're ensuring that NIFA develops these enhanced business practices for management and processing of the grants, staying abreast of programmatic, statutory, and regulatory requirements. We determine financial stability and management capabilities of our prospective grantees. We have right now, we're in the middle of doing our fourth quarter releases to our recipients. So there's many steps that we have to go through to prepare and to ensure that they are ready to receive those funds and are capable of managing them correctly. So based on all of that, we need to have an understanding of all of our NIFA programs. We have to research the laws, appropriation language, maintaining and developing this effective relationship with our client institution. Basically, we reach out to them. We don't just, oh, here you go. We talk to them on a normal schedule. We try to reach out to those that are maybe encountering some issues, but the bottom line is it's well received. We're increasing our communication with them, and we're establishing a newfound foothold that lets them know that, hey, we're not just here for problems, we're here for solutions. So if they have some any kind of encounters that we need to address, that's what we're here for. We're getting back to performing those site visits, and we definitely are doing the desk reviews for now. And we also coach those stakeholders on the NIFA grant policies and procedures. Now back to the teamwork. In-house, I came here, I'm a 27-year retired Air Force veteran. I worked with the Veterans Administration for 7 years before coming here, and I've been here about 1.5 years. Totally different venue for me. But together with my team, there's 9 members on my team, from the branch chief down to us grants management specialists, and we all work together. If we have a question, we know we can reach out. And it's the same thing across the board, specifically for policy. Our NPLs, our national program leaders, our program support personnel, and our financial folks. This is a great place, a great institution. We're learning every day, and we have the support of our leadership. And I think that is very, very key to what we do and to ensure that we're successful. So I'll pass that on to Tara Warner from our financial department, and she'll take it from there.
Thanks, Freddie. I'm Tara Warner. I'm the Accounting Operations Branch Chief, and I'm here to talk to you about accounting. Everyone who works in my division and in my branch is an accountant. So we are not scientists. I'm going to steal that from Laura. We are in support of our scientists and in support of these programs that they're helping to get funded for research, extension, and education. So there's 2 different areas when we're talking about the financial management division. We're talking about the accounting operations part, where we actually make sure that those payments go out. We make sure that those funds are set aside, because for the federal government, it has to be obligated and set aside before you can spend it, or that is a legal issue. We ensure that the grantees or whoever we're serving are able to actually receive those funds in a very easy manner through Treasury's ASAP system. We call it like a cash app for our grantees, so they don't have to wait for us to send them a check or send them money. And then we also have to provide analysis and internal and external customer support for those functions. Sometimes this is not very easy to understand for those that we serve, so we have to reach out and actually guide them on how to make sure they get their money timely and that they're able to use it appropriately. And for our internal customers, we have to do teamwork. I think you've heard that as a theme throughout this presentation. We have to work with AMD, our awards management division. We have to work with our policy and oversight division. We have to work with our program specialists and our national program leaders and our administrative people to ensure that everything is being done to support this awesome mission. And then we have the financial analysis branch. That's more so of the reporting and the reconciliation if you're far enough in your accounting courses to understand what that means. That means that all those accounting functions I just spoke to you about have to be analyzed, reported on, and sent up to the upper divisions or the upper levels of USDA so they can be reported appropriately in our financial statements so we can remain in compliance with different laws and different acts that require us to run USDA like a business. We have financial statements that we are responsible for, and that's what our financial analysis branch does. They record all the cash transactions, they monitor the agency's cash position, which basically means our funding, our cash account, to make sure that it's in balance, and then they report it upwards. So a little bit of my background, I am the accounting operations branch chief, but I started out as a staff accountant with the federal government. I did have some private sector experience before I made that transition, but the main thing that I liked was the public service aspect. When you're working for a private company, your main objective is profit. When you're working for the federal government, your main objective is serving the taxpayer and serving the public for the greater good. And NIFA is definitely an agency with a mission that supports that fully with their research, education, and extension programs. So with that being said, I will ask that this slide go on to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, presenters. Our next portion is how do I apply for a job? So we're going to have Teresa Murray, who's the Equal Employment Opportunity Specialist on the Civil Rights staff. We're going to have Kirsten Showalter, who's a Supervisory HR Specialist, and then Mary Weber, who's also a Human Resource Specialist. Teresa?
Hello, I'm Teresa Murray, EEO Specialist in the Civil Rights Office. Now that you've heard a little bit about our mission and the jobs you may apply for, let's talk about how to apply for jobs. So the online system you will use is USAJOBS. It is a federal government's official employment site. The website you will access is www.usajobs.gov. It has a listing of all federal job opportunities you can apply for. It's a starting point for all of your applications to apply at many different federal agencies. It is a valuable resource tool where you can receive information about federal hiring practices and resources, and it's run by the Office of Personnel Management. Next slide, please. What is USAJOBS? You have the opportunity to apply under two different avenues. One is only public jobs. Those are competitive jobs, jobs open to all U.S. citizens. The next one is all jobs, public, and status. Status means non-competitive appointments. Those are current federal employees who now work for the government, or previous federal employees who have career status and employees who have career conditional status. And then we have those certain special hiring authorities or non-competitive appointments. Those hiring authorities are established by the law, such as military veterans, appointments, VEOP, vets, also persons with disabilities under the Schedule A hiring authority, and returning Peace Corps. And we will have Mary Weber, who will provide a little bit more information on the next slide.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Weber, and I'm going to be giving you a brief overview of hiring veterans and individuals with disabilities. Because my time is limited today, I'm going to cover two of the appointments that are listed here. First, the Veterans Recruitment Appointment, and then Schedule A. First, the Veterans Recruitment Appointment, also called a VRA, allows for the non-competitive appointment of eligible veterans up to and including the GS 11 grade level. When I say non-competitive, it means that the job seeker does not have to apply via a job opportunity announcement as one typically would. After the veteran satisfactorily completes 2 years of service, they are then converted non-competitively to a career or career conditional appointment. Now I'm going to skip down to Schedule A. The Schedule A hiring authority is specifically designed for individuals who have a disability. It allows for the appointment of persons with severe physical, psychiatric, or intellectual disabilities. All positions and grades are covered. And in order to be eligible for employment through the Schedule A process, documentation of a disability is required to verify that the individual being hired is indeed a person with a disability. Documentation can be obtained from a licensed medical professional, a licensed vocational rehabilitation specialist, or any federal, state agency, or federal agency, state agency, or agency of the District of Columbia or U.S. territory that issues or provides disability benefits. After 2 years of successful service, the employee may be converted to a permanent appointment. And again, like VRA, competition is not required. Now I'm just going to touch a little bit on the Workforce Recruitment Program, or the WRP for short. It is a recruitment and referral program that connects federal employers with motivated college students and recent graduates with disabilities who are eager to demonstrate their abilities in the workplace through summer or permanent jobs. And these appointments are made using the Schedule A appointing authority. If you go to wrp.gov, you can get more information. And if you have additional questions, I'll put my name and contact information in the chat. So that's it for me today. Thank you.
Hi, it's Teresa Murray again. Now that you've heard about those special hiring authorities, let's talk about how you can search for jobs in USAJOBS. On the screen, the first thing you will see when you are accessing USAJOBS is how you can type in keywords or job titles to search for jobs. You can also type in the location of where you may want to work. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about types of federal job appointments. The first one is career conditional. Those are permanent appointments that requires a 1-year probationary period the employee will have to go through. Also, the employee becomes a career employee with status after 3 years of substantially service. You will also be eligible for benefits such as health benefits and life insurance. Also, the next one is the temporary appointment. It lasts for 1 year or less with a specific not to exceed date. It does not serve a probationary period. It is not eligible for promotions or transfer to other jobs. And typically, you're not eligible for benefits. The third one is term appointment. You work for a limited period, which lasts for more than 1 year, but not to exceed 4. It requires a 1-year trial period, does not provide conversion eligibility to another term or permanent position, and you will be eligible for benefits. Next slide. Let's talk about student positions. The first one is Pathways Internship Program, where students are still in school. The program length is tied to their specific education requirements. Positions can be summer or temporary until they graduate or become permanent in a position after graduation. You can apply to a specific position with a specific agency, and you can be full-time or part-time employment depending on program needs after you graduate. The second one is Recent Graduates Program. The student would have graduated in the last 2 years. The program length is 1 year, then you become permanent if the requirements are met. You can apply to a specific position with a specific agency. The third one is the Presidential Management Fellows Program. It's completed after an advanced degree. Program length is 2 years. Then you become permanent. You can be placed in an agency based on skills and need, based on the agency's skills and needs. Next slide. So what are you looking for? When you're in USAJOBS, you can set up specific information on your search. Jobs post in a specific field like chemistry or my job, EEO specialist. Jobs posts in a specific location of where you may want to work. at a specific grade level, such as GS 5, 7, or 9. For internship jobs only, you may want to apply for, or any combination of the above information. Next slide. Let's talk about the USAJOBS application process. You're required to follow guidelines outlined by the Office of Personnel Management. Provide detailed information about your qualifications and the experiences that you have in your resume. Provide information about any recognition of a veteran status or any type of special hiring authority you would like to apply under, as well as provide any status updates if you have any changes. You need to provide those supporting documentation, such as an SF-50 if you're a current employee, or possibly a performance review. You may have to submit your resume, full application, which includes everything that the job announcement is requesting. The evaluations are determined by each federal agency that the job is announced under. The process varies by employment office, depending on the size of the agency. You may not be contacted after you apply for the job. Next slide, please. Would you like some tips to assist you in preparing your application? Great, I'm going to provide those. Take the time to build or create your resume. Do not wait till the last minute to prepare your resume. Don't wait until the closing date to start the process. Sometimes there can be glitches, so you want to start early. Be detailed and specific in your descriptions. This is the perfect time for you to toot your horn. Provide all of that valuable information of your experience and accomplishments that you've learned. Preview your resume and make sure that you read the announcement closely. You may build or upload a resume. You may type in the information on the system online or upload the resume. Include dates of employment and hours worked. Next slide. Don't worry about buzzwords. Use language that best captures what you have accomplished, what your experience is, and what you have learned. If you don't have a lot of work experience, make sure you list all of those volunteer projects that you worked on in the community or other things that you have done. Your resume can be longer than one page, but hiring managers have a tough job and they don't have time to be reading a long book. Make sure you give the reviewer details to know what your skills and accomplishments are. And the most important tip, spell check, grammar check, and then spell check again. Next slide. A few other tips. You may submit supporting documentation by uploading directly to the website. Submit the supporting documentation that is outlined in the announcement. The announcement will relay what those specific documents are. Don't miss out by leaving out an important document. Make sure your resume supports your responses. You will have to answer questions in USAJOBS, and those questions should also be in your resume. You must meet the requirements of the job on the day the announcement closes, unless it says differently. Next slide. Federal agencies are not permitted to accept or consider information after the closing of the vacancy announcement. Be sure to respond to the mandatory work schedule questions. It's important that you answer all the questions that the vacancy asks for. HR cannot make assumptions based on your job title or pay you have received. Make sure you provide that information in your application. Submit transcripts or other supporting documents. Next slide. A little bit about transcripts. Make sure they are the most recent version you can get. I know sometimes you may not have your current transcripts. You can provide those as you apply for your job, but just remember, agencies may request the official transcripts. Make sure that your name and the name of your school are legible and visible on your transcripts. And if you have or are graduating, try to get copies that show your degree is conferred. Next slide. Let's talk about completing the process. Review your entire package before submitting it online. Make sure your personal information, your name, your address, your telephone number is correct. Make sure you have answered those very important federal questions and also the vacancy-specific questions. Make sure your resume is complete. Make sure your personal and professional references have been added to your resume or online. Submit all supporting documentation either via fax or upload them in the system. Next slide. After you apply for the job, you will get a USAJOBS update after your application has been reviewed. You will first receive a notice that they received your application. You will receive another notice that states that you were either eligible or not eligible. You will receive a notice that says either you were best qualified and your application was referred to the selecting official. If you were referred, you may or may not be contacted for an interview. You may not hear anything until a final selection is made and USAJOBS provides updates online. Next slide. For more information and resources, you may access the following links: www.opm.gov/JOB_SEEKERS/ www.USAJOBS.opm.gov/FIRSTTIMERS.ASP. And the last one, www.USAJOBS.gov/INFOCENTER/. Or you may contact the individual located on the front of the vacancy announcement. Next slide. Next, Kirsten will provide information on our current job openings. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. Hi, everybody. I'm Kirsten Showalter. I'm the supervisory HR specialist here supporting NIFA. And I just wanted to highlight that we do have some job announcements open now to the public. So you can see here several of the positions that were discussed earlier in the presentation are open and live. So go ahead and submit your applications if you're interested. There's the National Program Leader, the first one listed there, the Division Director position. There's the Equal Opportunity Specialist. So if you're interested in joining Drenda and Teresa in their work, that would be on their team. And then the Staff Accountant. You'll see the vacancy is listed there twice. One is for all U.S. citizens to apply, and the other is for current federal employees and other eligibilities. So just go ahead and take a look and definitely reach out if you have any other questions. I know there's been quite a lot of questions in the chat and the Q&A. So if we're ready, Drenda, we can go ahead and jump into that.